Today, we're digging into what could be a massive gold discovery in Greenland. A company called Amaroq Minerals just dropped some pretty incredible data from a new project, and we're going to unpack exactly what makes this find so special.
It all kicks off with this number, 187.4 grams of gold per ton of rock. Now, if you're in the mining world, you know that's not just a good number. That is an absolutely spectacular drill result. This is the headline from Amaroq's Nanoq project, and believe me, it got people's attention.
You know, you often see quotes like this from company executives, but when Amaroq's VP of Exploration says the results exceeded their expectations, that's not just fluff. That's a huge signal that they think they're onto something big, a real game changer. So, okay, let's break this down.
So here's our roadmap. We're going to look at what they found, then we'll decode what all these numbers actually mean. After that, we'll dive into the project's backstory, see what makes this discovery so geologically unique, and then look ahead at the path from these drill results to, maybe, a full-blown mine.
All right, let's get right into the thick of it. What exactly did Amaroq announce that got the entire industry talking?
Well, this is way more than just one lucky drill hole. First off, they're hitting this high-grade gold really close to the surface, which is huge, because that makes it potentially much cheaper to get to. Second, it's not just one skinny little vein of gold. They've confirmed multiple, stacked layers of it. And on top of that, they're finding really wide zones of gold and have even spotted new gold structures nearby. It's a sign that this whole system could have some serious size to it.
Okay, so a number like 187.4 grams per ton sounds really exciting, but it can feel a little abstract, right? So let's decode what these results actually mean for a gold discovery.
So grams per ton, or GT, is the key measurement here. The easiest way to think about it is like this. It tells you how much gold you have in a ton of rock. The higher that number, the richer the rock, and the more valuable your deposit is. It's really that simple.
And this is why Nanoq is lighting up the board. It literally ticks all the boxes for what you'd call a top-tier discovery. You want high-grade gold? Yep, they've got it. Close to the surface so it's easier to mine? Check. Thick, mineable zones instead of tiny little veins? They've got intercepts up to 9 meters thick. And signs that this is part of a much bigger system? Check, they found that too.
Just to give you some perspective, look at these highlights. Yeah, you've got that spectacular bonanza grade of over 187 grams, but what's almost as important is a result like in hole 251. A lower grade, sure, but over a super wide 9-meter zone. It's that combination, the super high-grade hits plus the thick, consistent stuff. That's the dream scenario for explorers.
So we know the results are pretty incredible, but why was Amaroq even looking in this specific spot in the first place? What's the story behind this Nanoq project?
You see, Nanoq wasn't some big secret. It's on a known gold belt right next door to the company's existing mine. But here's the thing. Even though it was found decades ago, nobody had really cracked the code. So Amaroq went in with a new strategy, targeting this unsolved puzzle and betting they could find a second major gold source. And based on these results, it looks like that bet is paying off big time.
So how did they do it? How do you go from an old, overlooked prospect to these kinds of stunning results? Well, it definitely wasn't just luck. It was a really methodical, modern exploration mission.
Their main goal wasn't to just go out and poke a bunch of random holes in the ground. No, it was to understand the geology first. You can think of it like creating a 3D map of the underground plumbing to figure out exactly where the gold is. It's smart exploration, and it means that when they do bring in the big drills, they can be incredibly precise.
And this is how it works. It all starts on the surface, with geologists walking the ground, mapping the rocks, looking for clues. All that detective work lets them zero in on the best targets. Then, the drill rig acts like a time machine, right? It pulls up these long cylinders of rock core, giving them a direct look deep underground. And finally, that core goes to the lab for the moment of truth, the assay results that tell them exactly how much gold is in there.
Okay, so this is probably the most important point. This isn't just another gold discovery. It's the geology, the specific way the gold is situated at Nanoq that makes this so different and potentially so valuable.
This right here explains everything. Amaroq's other mine, Nanoq, is what you'd call a classic narrow vein deposit. Think of it like surgical, complex, and pretty expensive underground mining. Nanoq looks totally different. You've got multiple veins of gold all stacked up near the surface. That opens the door to a whole different style of mining, a much larger, cheaper, open-pit operation. That's the potential game changer.
So when you put all the pieces together, you really do have the recipe for a major deposit. You've got the high grades, and they're easy to get to. You've got the thick zones that are perfect for bulk mining. The system is completely open for expansion. I mean, they've barely scratched the surface. And finding that new parallel zone, that suggests this isn't a fluke. It could be the start of an entire new gold district.
A discovery like this, well, it's just the first really exciting step on a long road. So what's the plan? How does Amaroq take these amazing drill results and turn them into a real, producing mine?
Well, they already have a pretty clear roadmap laid out. They're planning a much bigger drill program next year to really figure out just how huge this system is. The big goal is to deliver what's called a maiden resource estimate. That's the first official tally of how much gold they think is in the ground. They'll also be testing the rock to figure out the best way to get the gold out and looking at simple things like building a new road. They are absolutely ready to hit the ground running.
You know, these results feel less like an ending and more like the first chapter of a much bigger story. The question really isn't if there's a significant gold system at Nanoq anymore. The real question is, how much bigger does it get from here? And what could a discovery of this scale really mean for the future of Greenland?